We have to put ourselves in the seat of the fan.
There are so many different ways you can continue to remix this and find other directions to take that content.
So we can just juice it until it can't be juiced anymore.
People are going to want every single angle.
How do you maximize your most viral moments? We're going to get into all the tips and tricks on this episode and show you actual tangible examples of how others do it, how we do it here at STN. As always, joined by Jason Samuelson, who heads up all of our data strategy analytics. And Jason, this is something we talk about a lot with our clients, a lot of stuff that we talk about internally as we're thinking about new ideas and innovation with our clients, all about the idea of how do you consistently remix your most viral moments in real time, but also, if this viral moment happened years in the past, how to bring that back in a different light.
Totally. People are always struggling to find content to post and really high quality content to post. So these are a bunch of great examples on how you can take any individual moment that happens with you in your fan base and maximize it on today's algorithm.
I'll share with you my moment, and you can think of it, think of your own as I say this. As you know, I was in Houston at the Final Four, 2023. The Aztecs, San Diego State, are miraculously in the Final Four. Lamont Butler comes down in the Final Four game, hits a buzzer beater to advance the national championship. Now, I was there in person. I sat in my bed in the hotel the entire night, scrolling, looking for every angle, every call. I want to hear, the international version. I want to hear, the highlight mixed with a little Celine Dion. I want to see a fan cam. I just could not get enough. And to this day, Jason, every time I see a highlight that it comes across my feed, I stop and I watch the entire highlight, whatever the angle may be. And I think we forget that we are fans as well. We all have those moments, a lot of Kobe Bryant buzzer beaters for me as a Laker fan, etc., that anytime I see any potential angle or a remix of said moment, it brings me back to that nostalgia. It brings me back to that feeling, that euphoria. And I can't get enough of it. I don't think brands understand the fan moment that just can live on again and again.
And I think brands, naturally, when you're in-house, you're thinking, oh man, we've talked about this so much. Our fans are going to be so overwhelmed because this is all we've talked about for 8 hours a day at work when it comes to content creation, but you're not realizing how little your fan really thinks about you in the end. And so when that content does pop up,
people were so obsessed with our Instagram grid. Like nobody looks at your Instagram.
Right, exactly. And so when that content pops up for somebody, you're forgetting, okay, now they're at lunch, now they're at dinner, now they're 5 hours later, and they want to keep consuming it because they want to know and see every single angle, every single little insight into whatever happened.
You're so right. You get so close to your brand that you feel like, yeah, but they've seen this and we posted this moment 3 days ago or what have you. And you get so in your head when in reality, and you've talked a lot about this, the discoverability of all these social platforms now, the Instagram Reels, the YouTube Shorts, TikTok, you're just scrolling the For You page, you're scrolling the Explore tab, and you don't even know where this moment is coming from. So if I'm watching the Lamont Butler buzzer beater again for San Diego State, is that coming from NCAA? Is it coming from San Diego State? Go Aztecs, the men's basketball team, Lamont Butler himself? I don't really care. I'm going to still watch it. But I think these individual brands say, yeah, but we posted that yesterday or a month ago, so let's not do it again.
Right. And even taking a deeper account into what the algorithm and how it's serving and how a lot of content comes across as even a test content. And 90% of your audience might not even see the content or 90% of your followers might not see every single piece of content you're creating. And most of your content is being seen by non-followers. And so again, you just end up finding that in most cases, you can maximize this by posting more about it because every different version will attract a different audience potentially, or your most diehard and they want to see it 100 different ways.
So we're going to show you exactly, especially this is a great episode to watch on YouTube. So if you're at the gym, you're in the car, you may want to either just listen to it. We'll try our best to explain what's happening on screen, but we're going to pull up some actual social posts from clients and non-clients that have done a really good job of this. Before we get into it, what is your one moment? What's the one moment you can't get enough of?
2010 World Cup. It was before really social was even entirely around, right? I remember watching this on YouTube a million ways, but the 2010 World Cup, Landon Donovan, goal versus Algeria, go USA still rings in my head. And every time it pops up on any social media platform, I'm watching the full video.
And I bet once a year you see a different angle or a different maybe it's the exact same broadcast angle, but you just can't get enough of it.
No, yeah, they'll do something from field level. They'll do a version where they split screen with here's a crowd reaction from Baltimore, and you're like, oh my gosh, look how. And every time it brings you back. And even talking about it right now, I have goosebumps, and I want to pull it up right now and watch it.
I love
but
that.
you can't, right?
So
how does someone resurface it?
It's so good to like hear that, and for all of us marketers to remember as you're listening, as you're ingesting this content. We have to put ourselves in the seat of the fan, and we're all fans of something, whether even if it's not sports, you're a fan of White Lotus, you're a fan of Severance, right? Like, and every time I hear the Severance song, I'm like, damn, I wish there was a new episode I could binge right now, right? Because I like that show. But tapping into the fandom is something that we all have to ask ourselves, and this is exactly how you do it. So I want to shout out the team over at WWE. We know Steve Brabant has been on the show. I've interviewed him, the VP of Social at the WWE. We have good friend Brad Zach over there as well, who heads up the WWE news team. I wanted to pull this moment up, and a lot of you saw this, whether you're wrestling fans or not. And this is the John Cena moment that happened recently earlier this year, where John Cena, who's always been known as a babyface, if you don't know what that means, it means he's always been known as the good guy in the WWE. He did something that made him the bad guy, and he turned against good and became evil. So if you don't know what that clip is, we're going to have Katie, our producer, show you the clip, and then we'll talk over it and or show you some examples of it. Here we go. So here's John Cena dapping up Cody Rhodes. They're friends. The Rock is the bad guy. He's the final boss in this, and The Rock tells John Cena it's time to end Cody Rhodes here. John Cena obliges, and a low blow to Cody Rhodes. So that moment, the WWE fan base went nuts because John Cena has never done something against a good guy. Cody Rhodes is a good guy. The Rock is a bad guy. And now this moment, John Cena has teamed up with evil to go against everybody's favorite Cody Rhodes.
In a crazy moment that gains 1.6 million likes, right? Huge view counts on this content. Someone would say, we posted about it.
We went viral.
We're good. We did it. But WWE does a great job here and continues on.
Yeah, so let's shout out this team of what they did. I mean, literally within minutes, they are now posting other angles. They're remixing this moment because they know this moment is one of the biggest ever, maybe in WWE history, and definitely one of the biggest moments in John Cena's career. So, Katie, let's pull up this split screen example of the same moment, just a slightly different way. So as we're watching this, you're listening on audio, we see an ISO cam on John Cena. We stay on The Rock the entire time here in the stack ISO cam as well. And it's just cool to kind of see how The Rock was moving before the original broadcast angle. And then, what is this, the drone cam or like the crane shot with Travis Scott also in the background reacting? It's the same moment, but I get a different feel from it because I now see Travis Scott reaction. I see how The Rock, how serious he was during that entire interaction. It just gives me a different perspective, but it's the same moment, and that moment gets 96,000 likes as well.
And it plays into TikTok's strategy of having split screens, giving people two different things to look at, overstimulating them. And so, again, it's another cut down of maybe the exact same thing, but different in a lot of ways.
So let's show another one that got 73,000 likes, the exact same moment. Now there's a top angle view that we want to show. So this is more of a lo-fi coming from a I love
shot
these.
From the crowd.
When it comes from a fan's phone, it's just it's a behind the scenes perspective. Same moment, same low blow. Travis Scott goes crazy. The Rock is glaring. But again, this is all the same moment, 3 different times. First moment got 1.6 million likes. Second moment got 96,000 likes. That moment got 73,000 likes. You see how you're starting to really build these. And when you talk about your month over month or year over year, if you're able to recycle, remix this moment that we know is going viral, they did such a good job of like, we got to find different angles of this because this thing's blowing up.
And some versions might be the first time you ever see that content, right? You'll see these out of order. No one's seen this, you know, right? It's again, these algorithms now are based in so many different factors. It's not like the old Twitter days where it's, oh, this is the first thing on my feed. This is the second. This is the third. The audiences for these videos can be wildly different too, and can really attract different types of viewership.
So then you start bringing in people into the WWE universe. ISO Speed, who's someone that actually has been in the ring. He's been someone that has been talent for the WWE. He's the biggest streamer next to Kai Cenat on the planet right now. So now we're going to show his live reaction of the exact same moment, split screen style. We're going to roll audio on this too, Katie.
Wait!
So this is Speed reacting after the low blow.
I gotta balance the power, bro. I gotta balance the power. Ain't no way I'll live to the day that John Cena turned into the bad guy. Ain't no way John Cena turned into the bad guy. I gotta balance the power, bro.
I love this. I love the split screen reactions to anything. I mean, any major highlight, if I see a Laker fan in their living room and how they reacted to it. We saw this quite a bit during the Super Bowl. Eagle fans going wild as they were just like running up the score. Bars as well. And also the opposite of that. There was a moment, going back to my famous moment of the San Diego State buzzer beater, but they had a split screen of the student section for SDSU versus the student section of FAU. And of course, FAU, it looked like someone died, while SDSU, it was the most euphoric moment ever. But even seeing that juxtaposition of the fan bases. So I think you and I could get in a room today and probably think, based on how many angles we have, based on how many fan reactions we can find, based on searching the web and looking for fan angles in the crowd, it's just endless amount of opportunity to not only share this the day of and the morning after, but 6 months ago, or 6 months later, excuse me, you can use the caption, "This moment lives rent free in my head," and you're dropping the same hit, no different than a radio station. Let's play that Taylor Swift song every day, every hour, until they don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just a lot of opportunity, again, to take each of these moments, these viral moments that are going to be huge for you, that are tentpole moments inside of a bigger broadcast, right? And creating a bunch of different types of content. I think people even here would say, okay, you posted about it 4 times. That's it. Now you're done. But still, there are so many different ways you can continue to remix this and find other directions to take that content.
So one thing they did too is like, okay, that was the main moment, but there was stuff that happened before and after. So here's a moment with Michael Cole, who, this is where it's all about prepping too. And we did this a lot with some of our combat sports clients, is get a GoPro on the broadcaster table at all times. So when and if a moment happens, we have that as yet another angle. Here's a moment of Michael Cole reacting to Cody Rhodes going off on The Rock.
I gave my soul to this ring and these people a long time.
As you can see here in this example, this is before what John Cena's trying
and
to
do. And this is a split screen of Michael Cole reacting to Cody Rhodes.
Go yourself.
So telling the final boss to go F himself, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee going wild. Everybody loves this angle because it's something you can't get on the broadcast. It's behind the scenes. Another angle that I can't get enough of. That angle got 460,000 likes. Like, obviously, we know the WWE fans are so passionate, and they just can't get enough of this content. But I think this is a great example. And shout out to Steve and Brad and the whole team over at WWE, good friends of ours, that just did this right. And I wanted to shout them out. You know, we had nothing to do with those moments at all here at STN. But they did a good job of, we know we have a moment here. How are ways we're going to remix it? And now forevermore, this moment is going to cause nostalgia. This is going to be a famous moment in John Cena's career. We can run this back multiple times a year, and fans aren't going to get sick of it.
Right. In the end, they post their initial video. It gets 1.6 million views. The first video that we showed, the true cut of it, super simple. They then create a following, 5 more videos that come in, and they get an additional 764,000 engagements on that type of content. That is just going to provide so much additional brand value and more reach overall for their brand.
Yeah, that's actually what we talk about a lot. Like us being a partner with our different clients, we allow the elasticity. When their moments happen, we can just juice it until it can't be juiced anymore. And that's where I think you see, like, again, going from, okay, that video got 7 million views and it got 1.6 million likes and we're happy, versus, hey, this month we got 59 million views and we got 70 million likes because we were able to, in that moment, remix it so many ways.
Because you have the resources, to your point, to be recording the fan reactions. You have resources that are in the crowd. You have resources that are catching the biggest stars within this larger storyline. And so you can take it and do it 15 different ways. It happens for sports, it happens for entertainment, it happens everywhere, frankly. But there's so much opportunity that if you have the resources, especially for that live coverage, you can blow that up and make it a really big event for fans.
And I think for whatever reason, it's somewhat frowned upon, this idea of play the hits, which TNT and TBS, for 20 years has made a profitable business model of running Seinfeld and Friends during the afternoon in every waiting room across America because they know we're going to buy the rights to this and play the hits. The same reason why Netflix spent, what, $100 million for one season of Seinfeld, I believe it was, because they know people want that. The Office, these are different things. And then when you look at radio, for the history of radio, especially terrestrial radio, it's been, we're going to pick 8 songs that we play on repeat every 15 minutes because they figured out the algorithm, if you will, back then, if you want to call it that. Usually people's commutes are 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So after 15 minutes are complete, most of our listeners have now turned their engine off, and a new passengers have now gotten to their car. So we're going to play Drake and Taylor Swift and Beyonce because what you don't want to have happen is the time they're trying a bunch of new songs in a 15-minute block. The one time that you're driving to work, you're like, I don't like this station. Well, what are these songs?
Yeah.
So this idea of play the hits has always been something, if you look at the history of media, has been a successful recipe.
Yeah, and that principle holds true for every type of brand out there. And really, when it comes to content creation, your data will tell you and will give you that feedback of, hey, we may have run this too far, and then next time you know to pare back. But having a data-backed strategy that really pushes the envelope in terms of what your fans are going to engage with gives you way higher ROI than simply that one singular, hey, we did the post, we're good, now we're on to the next. It's a box checky approach, and you should not do that.
So we mentioned this too. Okay, let's pretend for a second that a viral moment is not happening for your brand right now, or for your team, or whatever department that you're running. I want to use the example of the Pacers, the Indiana Pacers, who've been a longtime client of STN. Shout out to Tyler and Zach and the entire incredibly and talented team. That it's just so fun collaborating with them because we get in rooms virtually, in person, and just dream together. And I think we're STN. The first moments, or the first example with the WWE was a lot of lo-fi examples that I think anybody can really do. You don't need STN's help potentially for some of those moments. But what I want to show you is when you actually have a creative team that can be super creative with how you focus on trends, how you get inside the Adobe Premiere Suite, if you will, and After Effects, and you can have some fun with it. If you haven't seen this, and you're not an NBA fan, there was a famous moment in Reggie Miller's career, who's arguably, I don't think it's arguably, he's the best player in Indiana Pacer history. But one of his famous moments against the Knicks was scoring 8 points in just 9 seconds. So if you haven't seen that, we'll roll that real quick here on YouTube so you can understand what we're talking about.
Miller for 3.
So he hits a 3 here with 16 seconds to go. The Knicks go to inbound it. They screw up. They pass it right back to Reggie. Another 3. Got it. And then later on, he gets fouled as well to get the other 2 points. So 8 points in 9 seconds. So the reason I want to show you this is we're saying, okay, this happened over 20 years ago now. How do we remix that? Because every Pacer fan remembers that moment. It's one of the biggest moments in franchise history. People can't get enough of it. Nostalgia. They remember where they were. They remember where they were in their living room watching this or in the arena. So here's an example of the 25th anniversary of that moment and what we helped create as collaborating with the Pacers and the fine folks over there. Let's find a different way to remix this. That's not just posting that highlight. It's not just stacking that with a different angle. There wasn't really fan reactions back then that you can lean on. But how do you create something bespoke from scratch in an ideation meeting that can hit the feeds on the 24th anniversary? And this is what we came up with. So as we're watching this is an old school arcade, all done in 3D, kind of NBA Jam style.
Right.
Calling it winning time, of course, for Reggie Miller. And then we're implanting the top highlights from this moment into the video game. And then putting the video game UI over that. So we cut that there, Katie, as well. So that's an example of remixing that exact same broadcast highlight, but we're putting it in to, I guess, a little CGI or a little arcade there as well. Another example is simple typography motion. So this was, people remember the broadcast. So as you hear the sounds, it takes you back and you're replaying the moment in your head. So here's another example of, again, not using the broadcast footage, but finding a way to remix this top moment.
Just an unexpected turn of events there in the last minute. What was going through your mind? You knew you had to get a quick couple threes.
Well, we knew we had to get a 3. We were down by 6. If we got a quick 3 on that, we knew they had no timeout. We had to pressure the ball. We overplayed Anthony. Mason choked and threw it to me. I hit a 3.
Mason choked and threw it to me. I love that line of Mason choked and threw it to me.
John Starks choked. We came up big.
John Starks choked.
Reggie, maybe the difference between this year's team and last year's.
So if you pause that, like as a huge NBA fan, I forgot that post-game conference.
Yep.
I forgot that Reggie Miller was saying that they choked, which is pretty aggressive, but also hilarious. So you're bringing back that top franchise moment, but you're also, hey, fans, do you remember he actually had an amazing post-game conference as well?
Right.
Which goes to show the WWE angle. They wanted to focus on, John Cena turning heel, but I'm going to show you a moment that happened prior and Michael Cole's reaction. You're still, what would you call it? Parlaying the official moment, but you're finding ways around the moment.
Yeah, you're finding creative ways to engage people with your content. And we know if you just post the same type of creative over and over again, it's going to become old to your fans. So how can you take that and find a new creative way to
a couple more quick examples of, again, just finding fun ways to remix this exact same moment, this photo manipulation motion graphic that we pulled up as well. 8 points in 9 seconds. It's a different fun way to do this, right? Like you're having all the points scored, all the TVs, using nostalgic, of course, of the old school TVs, 4x3 angle. Here's the illustrated animation we did. And this has all happened over the years. So we're bringing back this moment, over the years, not so much like all in 1 week or all one anniversary. So here's that illustrated animation as well.
Miller for 3, and he got it. And a steal. Miller retreats.
Cookies. How many ways can we remix this? And if you have a very creative team or you have an agency like STN, you're like, we have the ability, we have the skill set to continue to remix this.
Especially the outside perspective, which I think is really valuable here. When you're really close to this kind of stuff, again, you're like, we've played that so many times. But you forget your audience, the outside perspective of someone being able to come in and say, there's probably 7 or 8 different ways that you can take this creatively into new direction that your team internally just hasn't thought about.
I think Robin Thicke, famously with Pharrell, got sued for a lot of money by the great Marvin Gaye family estate because, hey, you're using our beat, right? And I think that's happened in the history of music where the remix is just that. And Kanye West doing samples in his whole career was very much like, hey, I already know people bop their head to this. Can I use that exact same beat? Can I use that exact same theme? And it's worked historically in the history of music. That's
path of least resistance here, and that's what we're doing with social
What's
content.
This last one, Katie? We have a choke collage. I don't know if I remember that. I mean, beautiful. Love it. If you're seeing on YouTube here, it's just Reggie Miller with all the moments that happen with the choke collage.
And that's so quick, but then you quickly are like, I remember that 8 points in 9 seconds.
So that's an example of, again, we know that the moment has happened already, and we are remixing that. And then finally, we wanted to show you with the Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark, surprise, surprise, they knew they were going to select Caitlin Clark #1 overall. So even when you know a big moment's about to happen, you just don't know exactly. I mean, you know it's coming up, but you want to prepare for it. I think that's another way, like, how do we remix the announcement? And that might be a logo reveal. That might be drafting somebody. That might be your player making the Pro Bowl or whatever it may be. It also may be announcing season 3 of Severance, like I mentioned earlier. How are we going to announce that this is coming and streaming this summer on Apple? So we knew that this was going to be a big moment, and we wanted to drop a dope piece of content that took a lot of weeks to create. And a lot of you may have seen this. If you're watching on YouTube, you can play this with no audio, Katie. But this is our famous, Toy Story animation that I think got 10 million views in like 72 hours and went viral. And every call we're on, people are like, wait, this is incredible. But yeah, this is something that we did like, hey, the second she gets drafted, we want to make sure that we have this very unique thumb-stopping creative that has never been done in the history of the WNBA. That's not just her holding up her jersey. It's not just a photo of the moment or the broadcast angle, but the Fever had something ready on ice, ready to drop the second that happened. And they get the ROI because of it.
Yeah, the benefit of knowing you're the #1 overall pick is you can pre-plan, but this kind of stuff happens all the time. We're able to pre-plan a campaign out, and you can cut that 20 different ways, especially if it's a massive, again, a really big moment. People are going to want every single angle, whether it's that shot, it's a video of the actual draft happening with the split screen on it. You can take that and just keep cutting it up. And there's some more good examples of
check out this jersey swap too, Katie. This is what we're calling a motion graphic jersey swap, but we have her here in the Iowa jersey. And then she morphs into the Fever jersey, which I think, Fever fans are just like, I remember that all the career accolades at Iowa. I remember watching her in the tournament, and the fact that she now has on my jersey, that means a lot. And finally, this accolades illustration. Again, who are you inheriting as your next franchise player? I would say a pretty successful player. As we look at this on YouTube, she has all her trophies, all her all-time records that she set while in college, really the queen of college sports. And we did that like 20 to 30 times, different ways that we can tell the Caitlin Clark story, different ways that the second the Fever make the draft selection, the before, the during, and after are all set. And then the broadcast, if she says something funny during the post-game interview, if you will, if there's a really cool moment where somebody like her mom reacts to the draft moment, that's real time. But how do you get ready for the moment and get stuff on ice so you can drop it and be ready for your biggest moments?
Even from a strategy perspective, how are you thinking about the audiences that this content is going to speak to? And the last example we showed really speaks to Hawkeye fans.
Yeah.
Right? And they can look at that content and go, and they're not Fever fans probably, they're Caitlin Clark fans certainly, but it starts creating those Venn diagrams of how can multiple people be put into a similar bucket for a piece of content? So then you're starting to acquire fans as well and take these things from a couple different angles from a strategy perspective.
Yeah, so shout out to the WWE. Thanks to the Pacers and Fever as well for, being a part of that and just allowing us to be great partners and just have fun. It's so fun to get in a room for 3 hours. Like, okay, Reggie Miller. I remember watching that moment as a kid. How do we remix this? How do we innovate? We've done it 20 ways already. Is there a different way we haven't thought about yet? And just getting different brains around the table, even bringing people in that weren't alive when that moment happened. We have younger STN people, people that aren't NBA fans, that moment doesn't give them the goosebumps.
Yep.
But they're like, well, if I'm a casual fan, I would love to be more educated on why Reggie Miller said they choked. It's like, well, let us tell you that story. Let us tell you the story of the Knicks Pacers rivalry and how much that meant, and the Spike Lee moment. And that's why that even hurt even more for Knicks fans to watch Reggie Miller do that. So you start to really think, and again, oftentimes teams don't have that, or, brands, they don't have the 3.5 hours necessarily sometimes to whiteboard a bunch of dope ideas like that, but that can really be the difference from a historic year on social versus a non-historic year.
Right. Bring somebody in, ideate around those ideas, and fill that into your content calendar when you're saying, hey, we're in the off season right now and we need to think of 20 more ideas because we're not going to be able to posting if we don't. And so that's a great way to do it.
Okay, I got a bonus tip for you, which I think we often do this with our clients and I don't see enough brands doing. And again, this goes back to, yeah, but we already posted that and our fans are going to remember that we posted that 9 months ago. So we have instituted this quite a bit where let's go back and look at our top 10 or 20 pieces of content and then just repost it.
Yes.
Very simple. So you have an example here of we did this, an example from a couple of years ago, actually, a UGC piece of content. Let's pull that up and just look at the engagements real quick as well. So this was, why don't you just voice this one over?
Right. This is super simple. And taking a clip from the Denver Broncos here and showcasing, simply a skydiving clip, right? And we look at it and we say, this is UGC content. This does pretty well for us. We see performance on it pretty high. And so we're obviously happy with that. And there's a couple of versions of this exact same style of video that happened throughout the season that we maybe post a couple times to see how it works, and just from a skydiving in Denver kind of idea. But then going into the next year, we ask ourselves, we need to fill our content calendar up, and we literally just repost it again. You're looking at this, you're probably thinking, this is the exact same video. You're showing the same content here, but this is actually a year later during the off season, and we're finding a way to repurpose it.
If I saw this correctly, I think the first one got about 1,000 likes, and then this one got 4,700 likes. The original video only had 54,000 impressions, and then and 1.7 thousand engagements. But then the next video quadrupled the engagements.
Right, exactly. So you're going back into your data,
viral.
You're looking at your content, you're understanding this content actually makes sense no matter when we post it. You can't post certain highlights that are very timely because that's not going to work for you. But in the end, you find these things that can be posted today, can be posted 5 years from now, and people will still understand.
And I always use
rerun it.
You could probably think of a better caption than this, but I always call it this moment lives rent free in my head caption. Anything you can do for an excuse to relive a moment. We've talked about already these famous moments like Cody Rhodes and The Rock and John Cena, or these famous moments like buzzer beaters or what Reggie Miller did or Caitlin Clark, but also even looking at your top 10, like for whatever reason, this popped off, a UGC piece of content, an announcement piece of content, and either ideating around that moment, a different way you could remix it, or just posting the same moment again, this moment lives rent free in my head. The Aztecs, for me, the Go Aztecs, San Diego State, they should post a Lamont Butler, obviously every anniversary, just post it.
You just have that schedule now for the next 20 years.
Like,
You're
you
already
can post
done.
different angles. I mean, once a quarter. I mean, at least once a month. I'm never gonna get sick of it. And then until like people say stop posting this, which they never do, just keep on posting it and keep on getting that ROI from it. So we hope, we try to do more of these tangible, intentional episodes where we're showing you examples, we're getting you under the hood of how we approach social, and actually showing you data that's working, right? Like to see the millions and millions and millions of views and likes that are working based on these strategies, and then shouting out different brands that were like, hey, we see you. We see you over there. We're doing those same strategies. And some of this stuff is not rocket science. And I think the biggest takeaway is get outside of your head. We know that the TikTokification of social and discoverability, a lot of times 90% of the people that watch your content when you go viral are not followers of your brand. So trust us, they will not remember that you've posted the Reggie Miller moment that many times. Let's keep on rinsing and repeating here.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, make sure to remix all your content. Hope you guys found value out of that. Again, if you're listening on audio, hopefully we did a good job of explaining what was happening on screen. But as always, we're on YouTube, so you can see some of those moments in real time. We also ask if you could subscribe on audio and on video on YouTube as well if you'd like the content. So Jason, thanks for all your help. My name is David Brickley. This has all been powered by STN Digital. Thank you, as always, for listening and watching to the Business of Social podcast.